So welcome to, what's our podcast name again?
Oh, God damn it.
Great start, guys. Great start.
So good, be it.
So professional.
We're working on it.
Working title, New Nostalgia.
Yeah, welcome to the New Nostalgia podcast. We're your hosts, Oscar,
Jenny.
Bugs.
and we're here to pretty much bring you a podcast about movies, music, games, and maybe a little bit of tech and science thrown in there too. Anything geek culture oriented and fun stuff driven. This podcast should be about an hour to 45 minutes to about an hour, and be mostly fun. Mostly fun.
We'll see.
So, moving to my right.
I like how you had to do that.
Yeah, I had to put the. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they can't see us.
Yeah.
I have to put a visual somewhere.
Yeah, we'll do that. To my right, I have Bugs Gonzalez. He is our resident comic book geek. He is the one who will be giving thorough breakdowns of comic book movies.
Very thorough.
Very thorough. And
Hey, I
very
don't care.
opinion-driven, which are it's very interesting. Wait till you hear about his opinion about Dark Knight Rises. It's great. And he'll
I have
be
a soapbox, damn it.
Yeah, and we'll be bringing movies and music from him too. So this is Jenny. She is how would you describe yourself? A new how would you describe a new hippie?
Are you
A new age
happy?
hippie? She'll be bringing to you a perspective of older 60s, 70s rock for music, Disney freak all the way, and any kind of opinion about movies, music, and maybe a little bit of horror games that we've both shown her.
We're all very opinionated about our film choices, I guess. We all have a pretty extensive collection, so you're going to hear a lot of our take on a lot of new stuff and old stuff that we haven't seen. But to my right, Oscar, our fearless leader, who had this idea for the podcast to begin with, he is... Well, whenever I have a question about anything tech related, I go to him first. If he doesn't know how to do it, then I feel like I'm kind of screwed. But, so he's extremely knowledgeable when it comes to that kind of stuff. He's always up to date with new music, which is a big thing for me because I tend to, focus on mostly classic rock and music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But yeah, so you'll get to hear more about what we're like as the podcast goes on.
So a big reason that we decided to, again, it's still a working title, to come up with the new nostalgia, the name New Nostalgia is mostly because a lot of things that we tend to like and we're noticing in a pop culture, just zeitgeist, is that pretty much a lot of the stuff that people like now is stuff that reminds them of their childhood. So we'll go back and we'll watch, whether it be Star Wars that just came out and we'll talk about a little bit later, whether it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A lot of the things that are popular now were popular because it reminds us of the things that we remember growing up and things that we loved from then. And you'll hear about stuff that we liked and also just bringing up, things that are new and interesting that maybe not have to do with stuff from back then, but also stuff that we just find interesting that remind us of our childhood. So to go into that, the first topic that we have is Star Wars, The Force Awakens. So to kind of go into that, and whether or not what some critics are saying, mostly fans from what I'm noticing, is that it's a bit of a ripoff of A New Hope.
Bullshit!
Okay, that's one view. What do we think? Well, first off, why do you think fans are thinking that it's I guess to put it a ripoff would be a little bit harsh, that it's it pays heavy homage to A New Hope.
I don't know. It's like I kind of feel like nowadays the people that anybody new that we meet.
And that's
I'm
pretty
speaking.
scary.
Okay, I'm speaking for. I'm going to speak for myself. Obviously, we should all speak for ourselves.
In life and in future. Yes.
In life and in everything. I feel like a lot of the times, every time I meet someone new, if I feel like this person is going to be a significant part of my life, like a new coworker, and I'm going to see them every day, that kind of thing, and I'm going to talk to them about, I have to relate to this person, I'm not going to lie, I judge them on music and movie choices and stuff like that. I do. Well,
it's a shoe-in.
So whenever we get to topic conversations like, what do you think about Star Wars? It's like, however they see it, if they see it as a ripoff or something like that, it's hard to say because Star Wars, I don't mean to go deep, but Star Wars...
First and foremost, is this going to be a spoiler alert?
No.
Okay.
Star Wars means different things to different people in the sense of how you were introduced to Star Wars. You know what I mean?
True.
Everybody has a different story. So, I mean, it does work out that way. And definitely for people to say it was a complete mock or possibly a direct shadow of it, I just can't see it. I mean, just not... even before we went to go see it, we were trying to get into the whimsical of how we remembered it and how the nostalgia brought us as a kid and the first time we saw it. I mean, I was bringing up the first time I had saw it in the movie theaters. I had saved my allowance. Fucking fantastic, of course. And then, of course, my father owning and I'm pretty sure everybody has had the 3 VHS, the originals.
Oh, yeah.
Just not, it's now hard to find out, of course, the unremastered ones, so Blu-ray needs to catch up. But, for people saying that, it's just tough. I can't, I could probably watch it one more time, I still really can't see it. It's going to take a lot for people, I guess, to say, oh, well, this met this mark. This met this mark.
What,
to see the replication of A New Hope.
Oh.
To say it's an exact mirror image.
No, I wouldn't call it an exact mirror image. I think for people to call it a ripoff, honestly, is pretty stupid because the way I see it is it's supposed to be a reflection of A New Hope. That's kind of the point. I thought that was the point. I wouldn't have seen it as a ripoff because the way I saw it was... that's what was supposed to happen. So,
and if you kind of think about it, even comparing Star Wars: A New Hope to The Phantom Menace. Wait, let me try. Let me try. Okay. You can look at Luke Skywalker's beginnings of being on a desert planet and coming from nothing, being very similar to that of Anakin Skywalker in that movie. Why isn't that deemed a ripoff?
Because there's something about the first 3 that are so boring that I can't. I'm sorry. It's true.
It's true.
Even when I was little and the first 3 came out, how old were we when they came out?
Jesus.
We were like in 5th grade, right? Something like that.
We're mostly around late 20s in this room, so
10 for a 9, 10, or 11-year-old to be able to compare that to the original eloquently is not really that possible. I mean, it is possible, but I didn't even remember how to explain it. At that point, I felt like I needed to like them.
True.
Like, I felt like I had to like them. And you don't really...
There's nothing really going for them.
No, there's nothing, and that's what I mean. Like, when you, if you can remember watching the episode 1, 2, and 3 in theaters when you were little, what can you remember from it?
I never did. You're asking somebody who really never watched them. I wasn't strongly from the beginning. I really didn't. I knew they weren't going to be nothing. I mean, I wouldn't. It was to the point where I didn't even go to the theaters to go see them. I saw them after, and that was mainly I want to say in school.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, those were movies that, like, they took us on school field trips to watch because that's what was out at the time, you know what I mean? So I remember watching the episode 1 in theaters and being like, okay, I can remember that one for the most part. For the second one,
I'm just gonna say first one was just pod racing.
I can't remember. The only thing I can remember is the Yoda scene. Right? That was when he fights?
That one's in the second. That one's in
Count Dooku.
Yeah, that's when he fights Count Dooku, and that's probably the only thing I really remember from that movie. The third one, I remember ish, kind of, sort of, but not really. Like, I honestly can't remember details, and I feel like I don't ever need to watch them again. To me, I feel like
that's like a terrible car accident or a terrible something that
I just feel like they're apropos of the original 3. I don't. They're Star Wars movies, and yeah, you have to watch them. I guess you have. No, you don't.
You don't really have to watch them. You don't. To me, I
hate them. That's all.
I feel like
wow,
it's
strong feelings in the room.
Well, I mean, I do. I don't know anybody who likes the original 3.
You don't have to accept them.
I know someone who likes the original 3 because they've only seen the original 3, but yeah. I think the biggest reason I remember not really liking it, I remember being in the movie theater, even I think around 11, thinking, I want to like this, with the original, or with episode 1, thinking, I want to like this, but this feels weird. You know, and I think that kind of feeling, while watching it even at that age, isn't a good thing. It just didn't feel like Star Wars to me. It didn't feel like the original trilogy, which I think bringing it back to The Force Awakens to me does feel like a Star Wars movie. You know, not just the fact the way it looks, but the structure is really similar, but at the same time it doesn't feel like it's a ripoff to me because there's still certain things that happen in that movie which we won't go into.
Is the only reason that we are okay with this movie because it has part of the original cast?
No, because honestly, I think when taking yourself back in time, and when only the original trilogy was out, and everyone was talking about, oh, we're going to get to see what happened with Anakin, with Darth Vader, with his backstory. That's something everyone wanted to see. And then fast forward to when the trilogy was done, everyone's like, yeah, didn't need that.
Exactly.
I think that there was a big buildup, and there was people really wanting to know about that story, but in the end, there was nothing that we didn't already know that much. Yeah.
Okay, but my question again is, are we only okay with this new movie because it has part of the original cast?
So, but actors or...
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking more from a character standpoint. Okay.
Because, I mean, it didn't really introduce any other... Well, I mean, yeah, it introduced Boba Fett briefly. And then you get to see Yoda. Yes. And then it's only 3 nods you only get to see. You get to see Boba, you get to see Yoda, and you get to see Darth Vader. And then, of course... Senator Palpatine, aka whatever his name is, I forgot, the Emperor. But I mean, those are the only ones who really, in my sense, if you look over.
But did we, as fans, fall in love with the original cast because it's those actors playing those characters? Fall in love with the characters because it's those actors playing those characters, or because it's the characters themselves?
I want to say no for 2 reasons. First off, because I feel, yes, they come out in this movie, but they aren't necessarily the highlight of the movie.
They don't have to be the highlight of the movie. The fact that they're there and present makes us feel comfortable.
It's a safety net?
It's more like... It's like... I'm going to make a really weird analogy right now. But... having not seen an uncle or an aunt for a really long time, and you go back home for the holidays, and all of a sudden they're there, and then you look back on it, and it ended up being like a really good time with your family. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you mean, but then when Oscar had said it was not really a spoiler, it hurts because again, I can't even.
This stuff happens to the original characters,
but it's the same thing, like in other movies. Why do we get all like butthurt for like seriously when that same character is brought back with a different actor? Because, like, honestly, for me, like for Harry Potter, when the original Dumbledore died, I didn't like the movies as much later, even though he was a good actor in the role. But do you know what I'm talking about?
Would you say it goes the same way for Silence of the Lambs?
Yes.
Oh, that's yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that's three different things.
No, but
No. I mean, three different actors. Is it three different actors? Because
I didn't like Hannibal.
For Silence of the Lambs, because Hannibal Lecter got recasted as well.
No,
Clarice Starling,
yeah,
Manhunter.
Julie. Okay,
well, Manhunter came up before Silence of the Lambs, like that. That's technically maybe not part of that series.
I wouldn't consider that movie part of it.
It's kind of its own thing.
Yeah, I never have. That's just my opinion.
It's good, but it's different.
Let us know what you all think. But I mean, no, it's the same thing. I feel like that's my thing. Again, speaking for me personally, the reason that about 60% of why I liked The Force Awakens so much was because Harrison Ford was there, Carrie Fisher was there, and
Mark Hamill.
and Mark Hamill was there. Even though their parts were small and minute, that it made me feel comfortable and happy and nostalgic.
Well, for your analogy, I think it's kind of like, to me, it's like saying, yes, you're going to a family reunion and you're seeing those aunts and uncles and you're having a good time, but it's like also like meeting cousins you didn't know you had and then liking them maybe just a little bit more than
you did previously,
and having more fun with them than with your aunt.
But did we like it more because of that? That's what I'm saying. I think it helps it.
It helps.
It kept it more grounded, I want to say. It kept it more grounded because you knew if some shit were to be astir, you knew those characters would be there to be like, oh, we'll save the show.
I mean, and it's okay. That's why spoiler alert, there is a spoiler alert right now. Stop listening and then come back in about 2 minutes. Or fast forward 2 minutes.
We may put in the show notes, we may not. I don't know.
I'm just going to say that it's yes, when he dies, it's sad. But it's kind of like the old generation introducing the new generation. So if, for example, I know they are, but even if they don't, in the second and third movie, if none of the old cast members come back, it's okay because they've introduced the new ones.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just
and also
my
just
idea.
To kind of follow the Star Wars, I guess, formula. It happens in the prequels. It happens in the other one. Someone who is, a father figure to the one that's being brought up, and in this case, again, spoiler is Rey. That person has to die a very tragic, heroic death.
Well, not Rey.
Well, not Rey, no, she's not, but the person who's bringing her up, and the person she sees is who's bringing her up. So it follows the formula, and at the same time, it also it tugs at your heartstrings because it's not just someone that's just introduced in that movie. It's someone that we've grown accustomed to. That I would think for the most part is a lot of people's favorite character from the original trilogy. So
it still hurts.
Of course,
it won't stop hurting.
It won't stop hurting,
especially when the new one comes out and you're like, oh. All right.
But he's recasted. He's there. That's all I know.
In ghost form. All right. Moving on. We're recording this at the same time the Golden Globes are going on.
Wait, who's going up right now?
Let's see. Because we have it on the background, and of course it's on mute. That looks like... What's his face? Christian Slater?
Yeah, Christian Slater.
What? Okay.
Homeboy won something. Good for him. Good for him. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We'll look
Holy
it up.
crap, I didn't know he wrote Mr. Robot.
Who hasn't won.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All right. So, to keep things going, what are we excited for in 2016?
Gilmore Girls! Sorry.
Whether it's movies, music, shows, the world.
The world.
To see what it brings on this
What
year.
are we excited to see? What are some things coming up that we are excited and hopeful for to be good in the year 2016? So Jenny brought up Gilmore Girls. We'll go with that. We'll start with that one.
Well, this is the year that I am calling the year of nostalgia for the millennial generation. Because
Yeah, it did start then.
it's a reboot of Gilmore Girls, which I'm super excited about.
Hooray, Sherman Palladino.
Fuller House, which is going to be coming out next month on Netflix, which I'm very excited about, even though the Olsen twins aren't going to be there, and I'm okay with that.
Why are you okay with that? First off,
because I wasn't able to pinpoint it until I had read an article in which they spoke on their behalf, but growing up watching the Olsen twins, you know, they did a lot of those stupid, like, girly, poppy, kiddie movies.
yeah.
And,
We're gonna go solve a case. I can just go watch Scooby-Doo. I'd rather watch them.
I
solve
remember
it.
well, I mean, it's geared toward girls, so
I
I,
remember
wouldn't
there being a
expect
huge
you guys
shelf at like
to...
Blockbuster,
Yeah.
with just full of like yeah.
And I had a
American
lot of those. They were cute. And, I mean, when I was little, I don't think it's the type of thing... I mean... They're not even that great to where you can go back and watch it and be like, "Aw!" You just go back and watch and be like, "What the hell?" But I mean, it's not like if you go back and watch Goosebumps and you're just like, "Yeah, this is great. I'm 7 again." But
Some of that shit's still scary.
But I mean, watching TGIF on Fridays and stuff like that,
Jesus.
being able to know all that firsthand, because now kids watch it on syndication, and it's different for them a little, I feel. But I had read an article that they had asked the Olsen twins to come back, and the Olsen twins were like, well, no. You know, they respectively responded no, because they don't consider themselves actresses. And when I read that, I was like, you know what? I respect that, because that means that even though the way we see them now is kind of a little messed up or whatever, they're not wanting to go there in the sense of wanting to spoil that effect for everybody, maybe.
Maybe.
It's been far too long for them to remember or imagine how a grown-up Michelle Tanner would be. You know what I mean? That type of thing. I don't know.
I'd also kind of read somewhere where they, when asked, both of them, I think it was, I forget which one is which, but that one of them had said that she hasn't acted since she was 17, and I think they're both around 29.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mary Kate. I really don't remember who was in Weeds. I can't. And even
They were in Weeds?
one of them was.
Mm-hmm.
And even
Jeez,
that
I
was
must
a
have
very
really dropped off.
It was a very brief role. I mean, she was only in there for a season.
Yeah.
And she wasn't even in every episode. So,
So would they pull a Full House there? Would they switch?
I don't know.
That would be pretty funny.
But, yeah, she was in Weeds.
Well, the one hasn't acted since they both kind of stopped acting, and that the other one would have to take over, and that it didn't work out for her time-wise. So
one thing that I had read was that they were going to ask Elizabeth Olsen to be Michelle Tanner.
she's too good of an actress.
Well,
I wasn't opposed to that idea. When I read it as a fan, I was like, you know what? I think that would be kind of cool.
She's too good of an actress to do that, though, I feel.
But I agree with you.
name something she's been in.
Well, she's right now She was in. It's kind of weird because she played husband and wife with the guy that she ended up being playing brothers with in. It was in Godzilla where they were married, and then it was in the Avengers, Age of Ultron, where they're brother and sister, where they're Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And she's coming out in other.
I really need to catch up on that.
She's in another. She's in another movie. I forgot. It's like 4 names: Martha, Marcy. It's about a cult, about a girl who's brought into a cult in like the Catskill Mountains, and she's coming out of it. And
that sounds like a movie I might be interested in watching.
She has like a very she's coming out of it, and she has this paranoia that's built up because she feels like they're coming to get her. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty good. I remember watching that I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and she's actually a pretty good
so would you say she's
decent,
good to decent?
Definitely like light years better than Mary-Kate and Ashley and their mystery adventures. So yeah.
I mean, you also have to remember that I think we had this conversation last night where all of that was before they turned 18, so that was all I feel like maybe all that was their parents.
Their shoo-in parents.
So, you know, for them to be like, yeah, this is not what I want, it's pretty cool. You know, they'd rather make wedding dresses and date old people. Whatever. To each their own, I guess.
Okay. And to go back, the movie was Martha, Marcy, Mary, or Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
Jesus.
Okay. Yeah, for obvious reasons, I can't remember that name. Okay, so what else are we excited for? What other movies or TV shows? Bugs, what are you excited for?
Jeez. This year is my comic book haven. I'm not going to lie. I mean, Deadpool is first off coming up again next month. Jeez, it's the countdown on the way for it. So you got Deadpool kind of lining up. You got Batman vs. Superman. You got, I don't even know.
Wonder Woman's supposed to come out this year. But this year.
But this year, yes.
This year?
Sorry, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So she gets her shot. In a way, I hope they have the equal balance for Batman vs. Superman and as well as Wonder Woman for that particular role on up. Because I'm all amped up about what they have for the Infinity Wars, for Civil War, for the new introduction of Spider-Man, for the new Sinister Six, for Suicide Squad, yes, and I'll probably jump on the bandwagon, but I'm not a big fan of the Dark Knight series whatsoever. It's just not my cup of tea. Nolan's just, I don't know. The darkness is there, of course. That's what everybody wants to say is everybody's Batman, but
everybody's Batman.
Well, that's what they were saying, and I guess anybody could be Robin. And that was my whole quirk with that movie. Is like, your name's Robin. Yes, you will be Robin. So for this year, just mainly Deadpool. I want to see. The trailer to me is not really spoiling too much. That's him as a character. People, parents will be mad, of course. Let's take away the vulgarity of this, but it's not pertained to that diagraphic at all.
Well, because I kind of wonder how many people are going to go in with the idea of Deadpool as the character from the Wolverine, the first Wolverine movie,
Please,
and thinking like, oh well, that's Deadpool. I'm gonna go with all my kids,
It's gonna be a rude awakening.
I wonder how people are gonna walk out of that movie.
Probably people will walk out in the middle of that movie.
Yeah,
with that expectation in mind.
I'm so hoping that. I would so want to film this. I would so want to see how what joke really pushes the bar, because he is that type of character. That brief introduction that I mean, I will admit, I did watch Origins. I did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I did. I didn't pay money to go, but I will confirm that was Wade Wilson. That was Ryan Reynolds' take on him. What they did after, that was just complete bullshit.
Were they not going to get him back as Deadpool at first?
I don't even know. I mean, the actor that they got, he kind of resembled him in a way, so I think that's what they were really just going for.
Do you know what I mean, though? Like, were they not going to get him to be Deadpool in the Deadpool movie?
There was talks about it. Who would be a perfect Deadpool? And there's nobody else that really can be a perfect Deadpool but him. He is, I mean, even in the comic book form, he even throws lines to himself of what Deadpool would look like if Ryan Reynolds was blonde or anybody else. He predated himself saying that. In the comic book, it was kind of funny, and I thought it was like, no way. Like, Ryan Reynolds would never pick up a comic or anything. I'm not bashing him on anything like that, or anybody who would pick up a comic, or anybody who would want to go ahead and join the cast. And I'm not going to say Tyrese is the best Jon Stewart because he photoshops himself in and wants to be in the next Green Lantern Corps movie, but I mean, I feel they might give it to him just because he's a big fan. But Ryan Reynolds, I would say, is a big fan, but I don't think there could be anybody else I could bring off the top of my head, honestly, now.
How about someone who would be better?
Better? Nope.
Okay.
Nobody better. He is the king.
All right, for me, it's kind of tough because I think the biggest thing that I'm kind of looking forward to isn't coming out in 2016. It's coming out in 2017. And that's the return of Twin Peaks.
Yay! Sorry.
Yeah, and then recently I just saw that they casted Laura Dern as Diane.
That's freaking awesome.
That's pretty interesting considering that I always kind of wondered if Diane was someone that was either living or if he just named his tape recorder Diane.
I always assumed that she was a living person. I always assumed that she was a secretary or something.
Yeah. So that's not coming out in 2016. So
you need to watch.
I know. I got it from both of you. I got it from everybody. So
yeah. So.
It's on Netflix, and I have the gold definitive edition. So
yeah,
no excuses.
So I guess the thing I'm kind of looking forward to now is more, I guess, seeing how things are going to change when it comes to like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime starting to become not just more popular, but also...
Oh, I just realized as you said that, I have all of those things, and I could probably do without one of them.
Well, could you, though? Okay, so I guess that brings up a line of conversation. Could you do away with one of them? Because now they're going to start creating their own content to where they all are going to be creating stuff that you may or may not want to watch. Like,
and my whole argument with myself in getting rid of one is once I do that, something's going to come back that's only available on that. Mm-hmm. See, for Amazon Prime.
Does Amazon Prime have original stuff?
Yeah, they have Men in High Castle, which I hear is pretty good. I don't watch too much of their stuff, to be fair, but I hear that a lot of it's pretty good. Transparency's on there. Men in High Castle.
There was something else that I was like, oh my god, I need to watch it. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but
Mozart something. Was
it that one? No, it was something else. I don't know. But Amazon Prime is the only one that has rights to Downton Abbey. So that's why I have that. Plus, I like the fact that when we watch Amazon Prime on our Kindle Fire, that
shameless plug.
What? Not sponsored.
Sorry. That you can pause it, and when you pause it, the IMDb thing on the side comes out, and you're like, "Who is?" It's like the Shazam for Amazon. I'm for
Paxton or Pullman.
Yeah, yeah. So exactly. So when you're just like, "Who is that actor, and where have I seen them before?" You can just click, and it's right there, and it tells you exactly who they are, who's in that scene. It's per scene, which I think is pretty awesome.
So I guess you could get a double. All three confirmation is pretty much we wouldn't because they each have something honestly going for them.
Netflix, I would never get rid of because
it's the prime order of the streaming services besides everything else that's been out there.
Well, not just that, but I got it for my dad for Father's Day one year, and it still stands to be the best gift I've ever gotten him. So I got him that in a Blu-ray player. So
that's cool.
And that's Netflix is his thing, I guess. So it's the only modern thing he brings from today's. He watches Netflix. So I would never get rid of Netflix. Amazon Prime I pay for only once a year, so I really can't see myself getting rid of that either. It would go down to Hulu. Now Hulu, I watch Grey's Anatomy and any other specials that come out, so I don't know.
Yeah, Hulu's pretty much the only one that has current shows. Unless you want to just pay for them on Amazon Prime.
Which
yeah.
When it comes down to it, it's not. Again, you could just rather be turning just on the television and watching it physically.
Well, not just that, but we have Time Warner Cable, so also not sponsored. They don't update as fast as on Time Warner. the app as it does on Hulu. So when you're dealing with impatient people like me who want to watch it now, you kind of have nothing else to watch on except for Hulu. So.
I was like, we have nothing else to live for.
TLDL. Too long, don't listen. It's basically we're screwed.
Pretty much, yeah. You're going to be subscribers to 3 things for the rest of your lives.
4 if you include Spotify.
Yeah, and that to me is another one where it's like Spotify, Apple Music. There's a whole bunch of other ones going on too. And it also kind of makes me wonder how, with the 3 services, whether or not, ditching cable is something that I personally would want to do, because it just seems kind of pointless to me to be paying for cable also, when mostly everything I watch, I just need an internet connection to watch.
Well, I still find myself still watching TV somehow. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Downtimes, definitely.
Yeah, true.
It's like listening to the radio.
It's on.
Sometimes you just need something in the background that you don't have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to the last topic, music. So music is something that we are going to talk about also. We don't really necessarily have a topic to talk about today. So one thing I guess we should talk about is like, what are our favorites? Meaning genres, artists, or albums. Starting off, I guess my favorite, I don't know, it's because it goes back and forth. Okay, so when I was in high school, and probably even beforehand, I was very much like the emo kid. I'd listen to a lot of like, oh man, like Taking Back Sunday. It's like in all those old crappy bands.
What I call what, Oscar?
Pussy rock.
Yeah.
Hold a very like near and dear place in my heart. But I feel like if I were to listen to it now, I wonder how much I'd really want to listen to it on the day-to-day. And
I'll try to put it on equal ground with you and I'll tell you how it really felt when I went to Vans Warped Tour and Silverstein popped up. And, though I was like, wow. And everybody's like, who are they? And they showed the new music and I'm like, no, I don't want to hear this stuff. And they go, we're going to do an older one. Half of that crowd looked back and goes, what? It's me and my sister just singing back the song we had heard when we were...
That's sad.
Well, half of the crowd did as well, but it just made me laugh. It was like half of these people don't know or lack the bother to go back and see the original stuff and see how they really became, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you see kids younger than us? Honestly... Okay, we're 27, 28 years old. We're almost 30. I hate to say it, but we're almost 30.
It's a rude realization. Number 58.
There's part of me that still considers myself a kid, and I don't know why. I don't know why.
It's the nostalgia. It's, again, what everything that's coming back.
But we know that's nostalgia, right? Listening to those old, like, for me, like I was saying, Taking Back Sunday... Dashboard Confessional type of albums where it's like, whoa.
Well, is this a common thing, or is this something that our parents go through too? Like, do they go through the same sense of nostalgia like we go through the same sense of nostalgia? Of course, not the same things.
Yeah.
But, like, if you look at what our parents like, and I'm thinking about my father right now, is maybe so. Because my dad, he will still watch... the Beverly Hillbillies, the Munsters, Andy Griffith, and to him, those are the best shows.
True.
Those types of things. Same with the music. Now, my father is part of the reason why I listen to the music I listen to. Because I feel like it takes a lot to impress me with music. I don't consider myself... I'd like to think that I'm open-minded when it comes to music, but if I look at it, I'm really not. Because I know what I like, and I know specifically why I like it. Now, I have to hear it, and it has to catch my attention. I'm not the type of person who, you show me something, and you're like, Jenny, listen to this. It's really, really good. I'm not going to agree with you just because you say it's good. I'm going to have to know it's good. And if I think it's crap, I will definitely tell you.
Yeah.
So, I'm just super picky.
Yeah.
Now that you made that brief point, I don't know if our parents would even do anything like that.
Well,
I know my parents wouldn't be anything like that. being nostalgic as much as I feel our generation is now.
Well, they are. Now, going back to Star Wars, my dad didn't like it that much. Because,
Yeah, when we went, and
I don't remember why he said exactly. I think he wanted Harrison Ford's character to do more. Stuff like that. I feel like that was his thing. That's I feel like that's my dad.
I feel like I would need a double confirmation. I feel like I need to take my father to go see it. And just to see exactly what it might be.
We'll see, like Oscar, like your mom and dad. Mm-hmm. Your mom, what did she think of it?
My mom, she said, I liked it, but I wouldn't buy it.
Okay, and your dad
I hear that an awful lot, though. I don't understand, and I always ask people left and right. Again, because we've seen it.
Well, a lot of times.
Okay. We've seen it. I've seen it. How many have you seen it? We've seen it twice.
Seen it 4.
Damn. That's awesome. Okay.
Don't whisper that. Did it pick up on the mic just to make
4
sure?
4 times. Oh, it's huge something. The screen. I just yelled. Okay.
So, I mean...
And as much as we've talked about it, it's like if we would have seen it 3. So we've seen it an average, between all of us, an average of 3 times. So it all, like I said, it all goes back to nostalgia for me. And the fact Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, and Mark Hamill were all there. If they weren't, I don't think that I personally would have liked it that much. It was a great story and good writing, but it wouldn't have felt the same to me.
So you feel that same way it's about music. So in a way we can compare that to music, and we'd just be it's comfortableness. They have to feel that same formula. It goes through same with music.
Well, like for me, music and I mean, like it's a huge thing for me. I would like to think it's the same for everybody, but I've heard many people say that they don't associate memories with music, but I do. So another reason I love the music I listen to is because I love being able to put on a record, put on a song, and it gets my father talking. And it gets my mom talking about when they were younger and all the cool stuff that they did. And I like seeing them happy like that. Like, I like hearing people's stories when it comes to that kind of thing. That's a big thing for me. That's one reason I like classic music. That's just one aspect. Plus, it's just all brilliant. That's another thing I'm excited about for that just happened is the fact that you can now stream the Beatles on.
Oh yeah.
On
that was the big ending note to this past year, and
that was like one of the best Christmas presents. That like really, that was like the best thing.
The closest thing that we could get wings.
Oh god, yeah.
No. So
hey, I'm sorry.
It's true. That was the closest thing for a while.
Yeah, wings and just them individually, but
yeah.
Go ahead and
you
put
never go
Dyson.
wings to Beatles.
I think that we made that observation. Never go wings to Beatles. But you can go Beatles to wings.
Beatles to wings.
You can go Beatles to wings, but you can never go wings to Beatles. But I guess in the heat of the moment. But yeah, so that's pretty freaking awesome. And just like what it was, I think it was about a year or 2 years ago, where you could start streaming Zeppelin on Spotify and you couldn't before. Now, there's still some artists, of course, that I feel like listening to a Prince song all of a sudden, and then I can't because he's not on there. And it's okay because I have most of his music anyway. But yeah, the Beatles thing is pretty freaking awesome.
Again, you were reminiscing, of course, the nostalgic factor is that. Would you say they, like those particular artists, you would still listen to them now and try to give them a listen on their new stuff?
What do you mean? Like when Oscar was talking about the bands he listened to in high school?
Like Taking Back Sunday to see if they maybe still have that same factor and maybe have that same nostalgia?
Well, yes.
Because I wouldn't say that about Slipknot, and I wouldn't say that about Mushroomhead. I wouldn't say that about a lot of bands.
But you have to remember, a lot of the bands that, for example, like the Beatles, the Doors, you look back on classic rock groups like that, and they have their eras. When Taking Back Sunday and Fall Out Boy and all of those bands came out, that was their first round of era. That was their first era. So if you listen to something now and it still sounds the same, then to me that's a sign of a non-progressive group. But if their stuff now sounds different from when they first came out, then maybe it's different. Like U2, listen to them when they first came out and listen to them now, and it's completely different. Completely different. And they're still evolving. Same with the Foo Fighters. They still sound the same, and they're still, I mean, it's still amazing and still awesome, but they still keep evolving in their sound. A band should never, I feel that a band should never sound the same as when they first started.
That's true.
It can get worse, it can get better. But they should never say the same.
I know I'm getting a lot of boos for that, but Limp Bizkit.
Oh, God.
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't listen to Limp Bizkit anyway. But like MGMT. Okay, so when MGMT's first album is awesome. Their
and if
second
we have people
one,
that'll disagree.
That's not so much. You know what I mean? It's like...
And then now it's like I haven't even heard their newest stuff.
Exactly. But like, okay, also The Killers. Their first album is amazing. Second album, I didn't really like so much. Third album, I can't even tell you a song from it.
Can you specify on the second album really quickly?
What do you mean, like Samsound? Just a few songs, but to me, that's when Brandon Flowers started wanting to sound more like Bruce Springsteen. So, and he could never be the boss.
No.
So I just no. I fell out of liking listening to it, wanting to listen to it.
That's all we got, guys.
No, I'm sure we got more.
So, to kind of wrap things up, this has been the first episode of, again, I forget the name of this podcast.
It's still a working title.
Working title.
We're talking about New Nostalgia.
The New Nostalgia. I feel it's an interesting name, but I can't remember it, and that's maybe not a good thing for someone who's actually doing it. So
New Nostalgia.
They're the new.
They're the new.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim reference, ahoy. So that's pretty much it. If you guys...
Maybe we can, like, turn our podcast into a drinking game. Like, have so many references. No, not, like, specific Scott Pilgrim references or anything like that. But just, like, I think we made at least 3 different references to movies. And if whoever can point it out, take a shot.
There you go.
So, that'd be funny.
Or maybe if we have somewhere to, for comments or, places for feedback, they can kind of...
We'll have it everywhere. We'll have it Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, let us know if you caught them, if we even caught them. So, maybe.
Yeah. So we're just 3 friends who wanted to talk. Thanks for listening.
Have a good one, guys.